Greetings. Welcome. Happy Wednesday here on Blaze TV, live and on demand. I'm Steve Deace with Aaron McIntyre, Todd Erzin, and all of you. We are brought to you by our friends at First Cup Coffee Company, the Christian-owned Patriot Coffee Company with the same core values of faith, family, and freedom that you have as well. They've got a flavor for every freedom, a loving American. They put the roast on date right there on each and every bag, shipped to you within days of being roasted. Freshness is their thing. Sharing your values is as well. So try it today or try it again with my last name. Deace is your promo code for a discount when you go to firstcup.com. Firstcup.com, use the promo code Deace for your discount. Pardon me, firstcup.com, promo code Deace. Also want to let you know, at least out here in the Midwest right now, it is beginning to look an awful lot like Christmas. So if you are looking for that perfect Christmas gift for the Patriot in your life, get them a discounted Blaze TV annual subscription today. $30 off when you go to blazetv.com/Deace. That's blazetv.com/Deace. If you love the show, if you love Blaze TV, you want to support what we stand for, this is your chance to partner with us and also get it at a great discounted rate or gift it to somebody, the discerning patriot in your life. blazetv.com/Deace. You'll get access to all the stuff we do, including the exclusive stuff as well. blazetv.com/Deace for $30 off your annual subscription to Blaze TV today. blazetv.com/Deace. All right, bottom of the hour, we are going to be joined by an old friend. It'll be good to rejoin him, I should say, have him back. Dr. Ryan Cole is going to join us, and he's got a few thoughts on what he anticipates RFK Jr. will do as the head of Health and Human Services. So we'll talk to him about that and more. Next hour, that's right, no prophet of woe and lamentation this week. My man banged up his knee at Patriot Academy, so he's got to go get that examined today. All right. So Ryan Cole is a more than capable pinch hitter. And then next hour, it'll be your turn with buy, sell, or hold, I am sure. We are loaded up with humorless scolds and their propositions, Aaron. I'll be disappointed if that's not the case.
Wouldn't have it any other way.
Of course, it's beginning to look a lot like humorless scolds. But until we get there, here's Aaron's rundown of what happened while we were away.
What happened while we were away, brought to you by breaking news. The man accused of killing Georgia nursing student Laken Riley was found guilty of murder this morning in a case that became a flashpoint, of course, in the immigration debate and a painful reminder of the evil policies of the Biden-Harris administration. Jose Antonio Ibarra, a 26-year-old, was convicted on 3 counts of felony murder and counts of malice murder, kidnapping with bodily injury, aggravated assault with intent to rape, and peeping Tom. He faces life in prison without the possibility of parole. Moving on, Donald Trump made more appointments yesterday, selecting former Senate candidate and Dr. Mehmet Oz for director of the Centers for Medicaid and Medicare Services. He tapped CEO and tariff proponent Howard Lutnick as his commerce secretary. Also last night, he announced his pick to lead the demise of the Department of Education, Linda McMahon. McMahon founded the WWE with her husband Vince, led the Small Business Administration for a time under the first Trump administration, and the McMahons have been some of Trump's most loyal supporters in his political career. Also this morning, Trump named Matt Whitaker, former acting U.S. Attorney General, to lead the United States ambassadorship to NATO. Dispatches from the House of Representatives. Here's Speaker Mike Johnson yesterday morning being asked about an incoming member of Congress who is a dude who thinks he's a woman.
Is freshman-elect Sarah McBride a man or a woman?
Look, I'm not going to get into this. We welcome all new members with open arms who are duly elected representatives of the people. I believe it's a command that we treat all persons with dignity and respect, and we will. And I'm not going to engage in silly debates about this.
And here's Johnson yesterday afternoon.
I just want to make a statement for all of you here and be very clear. I was asked a question this morning at the leadership gaggle, and I rejected the premise because the answer is so obvious. For anybody who doesn't know my well-established record on this issue, let me be unequivocally clear. A man is a man, and a woman is a woman. And a man cannot become a woman.
Nancy Mace, of all people, on the same topic, coming off the top rope.
So if that being a feminist makes me an extremist, I'm totally here for it.
Is this effort in response to Congresswoman McBride's coming to Congress?
Yes, and absolutely, and then some. I'm not going to stand for a man, if someone with a penis is in the women's locker room, that's not okay. And I'm a victim of abuse myself. I'm a rape survivor. I have PTSD from the abuse I've suffered at the hands of a man. And I know how vulnerable women and girls are in private spaces. So I'm absolutely 100% going to stand in the way of any man who wants to be in a women's restroom, in our locker rooms, in our changing rooms. I will be there fighting you every step of the way.
After being eerily quiet for the first week or so after the election, the divisions on the left are becoming more apparent. Here's Cenk Uygur of the Young Turks berating Professor Alan Lichtman on Piers Morgan's program. If you remember, Lichtman is that dude who says he's correctly picked almost every election in the modern era, but was woefully off on this one.
Look, I debated Professor Lichtman before. I told him his theories about the keys were absurd. I was right. He was wrong. I said he'd lose his keys.
No, you were
Couldn't
not
find
right,
him
and
before
I
the
was
election.
not wrong. And that's a cheap shot, and I won't stand for it.
Well, who won, brother?
You should not be
who
taking
won?
cheap
who
shots
won?
at me.
You don't know
you
anything.
You attacked me
you
personally.
You're so deluded.
All right. I've only been a professor for 51 years.
On this program, I've never been able to finish a thought.
How many books have you published? No, because you're personally attacking me again. Say whatever you want, but I'm not going to stand for
brother, you got it wrong.
Say
you were
whatever
preposterously and stupidly wrong. So, all right, can I just finish a
stupid.
Alan, you deserve a tall glass of shut-up juice, so can you just shut up for a second? And let someone who knows what they're doing.
You're so right, Piers. You're so right. We're so unified right now.
You want, I will not sit here and stand for personal attacks, for blasphemy against me. You don't need to do that. You don't boost
blasphemy against you? Who the hell are you? Are you Jesus Christ?
And that's what happened while we were away.
Those two clips back to back are so good. Oh my gosh, those are so good. Well played there, Aaron. That was excellent placement there. All right, Aaron's montage brought to you by the forthcoming film Bonhoeffer. I think that it's important for this movie to be successful given its message. So I do a theology question. At least I try to remember to do one on social media every day. So today in the year 303, the infamous Roman Emperor Diocletian offered, because he had filled his prisons so much, they were filled to the brim, okay, with the rich taste of Christians. Okay, the
Steve,
prisons,
I'm reliably told there were no such thing as Christians back in the day. Those didn't start until 1500.
That's right. There were no Christians until between the apostles and Martin Luther. Thank you for finally coming to our side. Aaron, so say we all, correct?
Indeed.
Indeed. So thank you. Nomine Patre. We'll nomine Patre that one. Thank you. All right. So I'm just out here at this point just targeting humorless scolds.
Everyone.
Yeah, I'm just targeting. I'm looking for humor. I'm trying to trigger them. Yes. Anyway, where was I? Oh, on this date in 303, the infamous anyway if you were a Christian. In Roman history, he's well regarded, but for Christians, not so much. The Emperor Diocletian offered Christians a compromise. He had filled his prisons to the brim with the rich taste of Christ followers, and there were no more cells left. So he told the rest of the Christians he planned to round up and imprison indefinitely, he'd offer them a deal. As long as you guys offer to make sacrifices to the Roman gods, you won't be arrested. And so my theology question on social media today is, given the way Romans 13 is interpreted by much of the modern American Protestant wannabe monastery church, they should have cut the deal, right? That made the deal. Do whatever the king wants. Do whatever Caesar says. Make the sacrifices to the Roman gods, right? Okay. Well, it's this very conundrum that ends up reshaping Dietrich Bonhoeffer's life. And if you know anything about Dietrich Bonhoeffer, he actually started off kind of at the early 20th century version of like a social justice minister. And all of a sudden, like real evil shows up in his country. And he has to come to grips with the fact that maybe this world's not as perfectible as he originally thought. And then he ends up being a part of Project Valkyrie, the plot to kill Hitler. It's an incredible story. All right. And it's why it's so well timed for where we as believers are at in this culture right now. I have nothing to do with this film at all other than Angel Studios bought some time here on the airwaves for us to promote it. But I would have done so anyway, because I think that this story is vastly necessary for the era in which we live. Comes out this weekend, Pastor, Spy, Assassin, Bonhoeffer. Get your tickets right now at angel.com/Steve. I'm going there this weekend. Angel.com/Steve. Again, get your tickets right now at angel.com/Steve. All right, a couple of things I want us to discuss. One kind of is a brief reset, and then I want to talk about Nancy Mace for a minute. Just to reiterate, I wouldn't hire. First of all, I don't even know. I have to tell you, I thought I had learned like everything there is to know about our public health bureaucracy and everything during the COVID fight. I've never even heard of the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services. Or is that CMS? Actually,
CMS,
okay, all
CMS.
right. That was what the acronym stands for. All right, because then I get it. CMS was actually then. Oh, okay. Well, for those of you that don't know what that is, CMS is actually the bureau that laid out the guidelines to put the COVID infected back into the nursing homes. So the Democratic governors, when they did, what were there? I want to say there were 6 or 7 Democratic governors that did this, right? That the most infamous of which were Whitmer and Cuomo. They reinfected their nursing homes with the COVID infected. That was a guideline from CMS. Okay, so I mean, I wouldn't let Mehmet Oz anywhere near anything, and I don't have a clue what kind of a job Linda McMahon will do. I don't. This is actually the only cabinet position that I have some inside word on because a good buddy of mine was up for the job. Okay, and I can just tell you there were several people vying for this. I know my buddy Ryan Walters was a finalist. Heard Ben Carson wanted this job. Remember, he was talked about for Surgeon General and kind of took himself out over the weekend that this was the job he wanted, I was told. Tiffany Justice, the founder of Moms for Liberty, was a finalist for this job, obviously. So I think that would have been met with resounding applause every bit as much as my buddy Ryan Walters. Yes. My view of Linda McMahon coming out of nowhere, because I can just tell you again, one of my dudes was up for this gig, so we've been talking about it frequently. Her name never came up one time in any. Betsy DeVos, okay, who was Trump's previous SecEd, all right, came up. Her name never came up in anything that Ryan was told or he told me, all right. That kind of tells me that Trump had some people within his inner circle that he just couldn't. Anybody he chose, if you choose Tiffany Justice, that she's basically a female Ryan Walters and vice versa. Okay, if you go with Betsy DeVos, well, she did the job. This kind of tells me they just chose someone that was outside of any of those competing factions and was heavily involved in overseeing she was on the transition effort the last few months. This just tells me this was Trump just saying, I can't decide, so I'm just going to go outside of the group and give Linda McMahon the job. That's what it tells me based on what I know of how this position has been vetted and who was looking at it or who was being looked at for it. All right. But I'm just going to say this. I'm going to reset. I have no opinion until I see what these people do. I told you guys that. I'm in Gamaliel mode. Let's see. All right. Trump has won. It's his mandate. Want him to be successful. So, when I see a cabinet position post I really like Pete Hegseth, for example, I'll jump on that and promote it. When I see one either I don't get or don't like Mehmet Oz and Linda, who I don't like, and Linda McMahon, whom I don't know, I'm just going to say nothing. We'll see. We have a different ecosystem on the right than we've had in the past. We used to be an ideologically driven party. We're not. We're a coalition-driven party now. And so that we used to vet people based off of, well, chances are what they said and did before is probably what they'll say and do again. Might be, but in a coalition-based party, where now it's really about, are you, which coalition do you represent, and are they the ones doing the governing? People might behave completely differently because of what's expected at court compared to what was expected in an ideological battle. So we'll see. I can tell you I am 100% confident Donald Trump is serious about overhauling the Department of Education and dismantling it. I remain confident of that. Have no idea if Linda McMahon will follow through on that or not. We shall see. And if she doesn't, we'll be critical. And if she does, we'll praise it. But preemptively, I don't really. Same thing with Mehmet Oz. He might do great at this. I don't know. I mean, I wouldn't hire him, but he might do great. I don't know. We're gonna see. So, that's all I got. You guys want anything more before I move on to Nancy Mace?
I genuinely, generally agree with that, and I don't think it's a stretch to say, based on the names available, other names available in education that you've already mentioned, Steve, or the names that we know are available in the world of healthcare generally, because we had them on this show in very controversial times. We're not betraying that to say, I think this is a miss based on other names available, which is not to say the people who were chosen cannot exceed, and we won't hope that they do. Mm-hmm. But there's just an incredible, in the world of healthcare and education, there are minds out there that have stood when the bullets were really flying. We hoped it would be them. In these two cases, it wasn't.
Yeah, I think when it comes to, and so Mehmet Oz, I really hope there's that video going around from many, many years ago talking about on his program this cutting-edge surgery for children with gender dysphoria. He needs to be asked about that during a confirmation because...
Sure.
Wasn't there? There are multiple stories, but one sticking out in my head about a hospital in Texas using Medicaid or Medicare funds for so-called meatball surgery for minors. I mean that could be a yo. So I think it needs to be talked about that during a confirmation hearing. But when it comes to Linda McMahon, yeah, she's loyal. That family is loyal to Donald Trump. So if he wants to do it, he will use her to dismantle the Department of Education. So that, again, loyalty, I will go through this again. Loyalty is going to be the biggest factor. Not to say that Tiffany Justice or Ryan Walters is not loyal to Donald Trump, not at all. But it's just, the McMahons have been around longer than they have. So I think that's probably the math that he's doing in his head.
I want to talk about Nancy Mace. And this is where, again, a biblical worldview comes into play. And where you have to be discerning, you have to be shrewd, you have to be willing to let mercy triumph over judgment, and you start with the presumption that all have sinned and fallen short of the glory of God. So none of us have a perfect background. None of us do. Let's be honest. None of us have a perfect foreground. Okay? All right? So, this is why Paul says, I have to die daily. I need a daily reminder to crucify my own flesh. And somewhere in there, we don't want to be naive, so we get taken advantage of, right? Okay?
Yeah.
On the other hand, we don't want to become the nothing good comes from Nazareth scolds either, right?
Absolutely.
Now, where's that line? I don't know, and really no one does, because Christians have been arguing about this since the beginning of the church. When the minute that the church was formed, there were attempts to infiltrate it, co-opt it, attempts to persecute it. So they had to be on guard. Okay. Could you be too much on guard? Yes. On the other hand, shouldn't we be a house of prayer to all nations and welcoming? Yes. You see what I'm saying? So I don't know. And reasonable people are going to disagree on this. But I do think, though, we need to be aware of this dilemma. And it's not so much that we come down and make the right forecast all the time on who's really with us or not, as much as we're just willing to observe the forecasting process. And then ultimately, the forecast will tell us on its own. Like yesterday. Yesterday, we interviewed a woman named Jennifer Say. And Jennifer was on here saying, hey, I used to be a woman of the left. I worked for Levi's brand. We were constantly talking about... I was their brand manager, and we were constantly talking about how to make Levi's a part of culture. Well, you're probably not going to make Levi's a part of popular culture by quoting Bible verses and battle hymn of the Republic. Fair? Probably by being a symbol of the zeitgeist, if not trying to even advance that zeitgeist even further to be seen as a trendsetter,
that's
right?
That's the way most companies went. Yeah.
Correct. All right. And then, of course, she runs into the insanity of COVID. And she's like, where are the rest of my lefties and liberals who used to distrust corporate America, who are now willing to just be their test subjects? Remember that great man on the street interview Ryan Long did? The comedian mocking this phenomenon during COVID. Remember this? Where he said, hey, I'm against a big pharma and corporation, except for Pfizer. They're great. And just went up on the street to find all these libs that agreed.
Yes.
Pfizer can do whatever they want to me, but the rest of the corporations are bad, right? Okay.
Yes.
Right. And then she got double whammied. Again, I'm just relaying you Jennifer's story that she told us back to y'all, in case you missed it. She got double whammy because right after that, on top of that came what? Training madness on top of that. And so now you're watching all of your feminist sensibilities get offended by your so-called feminist brethren who are totally fine with watching femininity altogether just get erased.
And suddenly, where she was all about marketing and what coattails you got to get on, how many times yesterday did she bring up the word truth,
Correct.
Steve?
Correct. Some things have to be objectively true.
Yes.
So she's on a search for truth. You know, I would imagine if we took the Nehemiah Institute Biblical Worldview exam, that, you know, Jennifer Say and I might not score the same score. Fair? Okay.
Fair.
But are we maybe on the same path? Maybe.
Yeah.
We might be. I might be at a different juncture of that path than she is at right now, but I'm a truth guy. She's a truth gal. All right. So then you leave room for the truth to have its way. Okay. I am aware. Now, I'm not, before this event, let me be consistent. You know, Nancy Mace has clearly been on a quest throughout this year, a shameless quest, really, to politically market herself.
For sure.
Okay, that's I mean, we were joking about the tight shirts with the, you know, she was wearing stuff in Congress that was 2 minutes away from a wet t-shirt contest, frankly. Okay, so I mean, she was without question on a quest of self-aggrandizement. I mean, Vivek Ramaswamy standing outside a Florida courthouse with Laura Loomer called and said, "Easy." Okay, so that's true, right?
Yes.
It's also true that she shows up at a gay-affirming church in South Carolina, and yes, I just said those words out loud. She shows up at a gay-affirming church in South Carolina, which I was told is actually also Tim Scott's church. I don't know that that's 100% true, but the person who told me that would know, so I'm inclined to think that it is. And she did opening remarks at their prayer breakfast and announced, "Hey, my live-in boy toy, my put-outer, wanted to keep me in bed, you know, for one more trip of the light fantastic, but I told him I got to get to this prayer breakfast. I'm supposed to speak." Right? That happened too. All true. All true. It's also true that the first time many heard the name Nancy Mace is when she demanded the Citadel accept her as a female cadet. First time anybody really can ever find anything with Google and her name that is of any importance at all is that event. So have I said anything at all that is untrue? Even if you might not agree with the way we've characterized it or some of the language we've used, the colorful language we've used to describe it. But fundamentally, would anyone disagree that Nancy Mace was on a tour of self-promotion politically earlier this year?
She's a handful.
Right. Okay, that she's tried to reinvent herself. She was brought into Congress as a Trump critic by Kevin McCarthy, and then this year tried to reinvent herself as essentially the less polished but electable version of Carrie Lake. Fair?
Sure.
Okay. And that the first time we've ever heard her name of any consequence at all is when she demanded and sued successfully for the Citadel there in South Carolina to accept her as their first female cadet. Fair?
Yeah.
Okay, that's all fair so far.
She's been a handful for a while.
Okay,
that happened 20 years ago.
Yes, it did. Yeah. And that she did make those infamous, cringe remarks at a prayer breakfast earlier this year. All fair. I've not said anything. Again, you may not agree with the descriptions, but fundamentally, is anything I just said untrue?
Nope.
Okay. So therefore, it could be true that this is her taking the lead on this story with, what's the guy's name? Tim McBride?
Tim McBride.
Yeah, Tim McBride. That her taking the lead on this story, it's entirely possible that this is another, meme come to life attempt for her, that she's just walking clickbait where this is concerned. That's possible.
Oh, I'd wager it's absolutely a variable in a larger equation. Absolutely.
Here's what's also possible, too. What's also possible is that everybody has a point where they're like, okay, I have to reconsider my paradigm here. Brett Kavanaugh was a paradigm reconsiderer, if that's even a term. Brett Kavanaugh that was the point when I went from, okay, we have to hold on to the norms here, to, oh crap, these people just broke the social compact. There aren't any norms. Okay, war is on. Where it is then. That we all have a moment where that occurs, right?
Yeah.
The founding fathers had that moment. They didn't just, like, the first time they had to pay a stamp tax and start shooting. For years, literally years. They tolerated these things. They sent how many years of delegates, including some of the founding fathers themselves, Jefferson, Franklin, Adams, and others, to barter and bargain with the king. This went on for years. They even wrote in their own document, paraphrasing here, mankind is predisposed to suffer through, what's intolerable as long as these things are sufferable, right? Until the cost of paying them is higher than the cost of suffering them, basically, right? That is the human condition, right? It is also entirely possible that it's coming across as self-aggrandizement because that's just her behavioral tendency.
Yes.
But the principle is principled. Like, no, we cannot have that here. That's just a bridge too far, and I'm going to the mattresses on that. Okay? It's also possible it's a little bit of both because human nature is very complicated, right? What's also possible is she is scoring points for us, whatever her motivations are, at this very moment. That's also possible, right?
For sure.
For sure. So then why would I muzzle the ox while it's treading its grain? Why would I do that?
Well, that's apparently what we do these days in terms of a non-con, et cetera. Like there's a whole nother agenda going on than actually defending the culture.
You have to get to the point, again, of that plaque in Reagan's desk I've cited so often recently. Yeah. It's amazing what you can get done when you don't care who gets the credit for it. It's entirely possible someone as politically shameless as Nancy Mace may ride this to even greater political glory one day than she currently has. But if the reason why she is because she took this idol, whatever her motivations are, and just smashed it right in their faces, why do I care what her motivations are? That's between her and God. I'm not her God. That's not my problem.
I just care. As I said, even before COVID came along, you and I discussed online today, you have to win this issue.
Correct.
You have to. It's about reality itself. It's people's girls' sports, fringe issue. I know I have daughters, but it's not fundamentally about my daughters and girls' sports. It never was. I saw the same thing. People in school boards, they're like, we plan on dispensing with reality itself. I ain't part of that on any level. So absolutely. I resent the fact also that it took getting to the girls' bathroom at the Capitol. But why wasn't it good enough 5 years ago when little girls were talking about it?
Right.
But still, we have to fight the fight in front of us.
With the soldiers we have.
Absolutely.
I mean, which instinct for those soldiers would you rather have? Hey, is this are you proposing this measure to make sure men use men's rooms and women use women's rooms in reaction to Tim McBride joining Congress? And she just says, yeah, hell yeah, I am. Yes.
Yes.
I would take those instincts
yes.
from Nancy Mace, of all people,
yep.
who is true. Everything that you just said about her background is true. I'd take those instincts over... My God commands me to love everyone.
Yes.
I'm not.
We just saw it from Johnson.
Again, yes. You know why you've got
you
want exactly. That's exactly where I was going to go here before we ran out of time. If you want to know why you've got Nancy Mace,
yep.
Okay, and why you have Moms for Liberty, and I'm not drawing a moral equivalency between Nancy Mace and Moms for Liberty, but I'm drawing a situational one.
Absolutely.
If you want to know why you do, it's because you have men like Mike Johnson that have to be controlled by their staff behind the scenes, then come out, and I promise you that's what happened there, and then has to come out and make a make good statement because of the pussy galore, his favorite Bond villain statement that he made the first time around. That's why. So I would prefer the male Speaker of the House is the one who goes Hulk smash on this stuff. That's the created order, which he claims to know, right? That's the way it's supposed to work, right?
Yes.
But if it doesn't work that way and Nancy Mace has to play the role of Deborah here, okay, not going to muzzle the ox while it's treading its grain. You go, girl. Folks, no institution right now is working harder to give young people the best education in America than our friends over at Hillsdale College. For 180 years now, Hillsdale's mission has been to develop the minds and improve the hearts of its students. And today, in just about 30 seconds, you can learn more about what that means by watching a short video at DaceForHillsdale.com. F-O-R, Dace4, F-O-R, DaceForHillsdale.com. You're going to learn that since 1844, Hillsdale has focused on learning, character, and faith and providing just the kind of education needed to preserve liberty, and they extend their mission nationwide through outreach efforts like their free Liberty Digest and Primus and more. So, take some time to learn more about what makes Hillsdale College so unique when you go to DaceForHillsdale.com. Again, that's DaceForHillsdale.com. Let's welcome back an old friend of the show, Dr. Ryan Cole. Brother, it is good to see you, man. How are you?
Doing well. Always great to see you, Steve. Thanks for the opportunity to be here.
You know, the last time we had you on, you were in the midst of your own internal fight over your own practice and credentials and character and integrity and the like and reputation. So give us an update really quick before we talk about what you're looking at with the new administration. Where is that fight at right now, Ryan?
Well, thankfully, my license at this point is only restricted in one state, and that was a communist attack, as we all know. I want to express extreme gratitude to all those who were very generous in helping me in that fight. I'm currently no longer practicing in my laboratory as the insurance companies cut me off, so there's still some legal battles ahead there. The good news is we have a team of rivals coming together in Washington in the Lincoln-esque sense. And there are going to be some very strong efforts to correct the corruption within the board systems, corruption within, I think, the state systems, corruptions within the Federation of State Medical Boards, as well as the journals, as well as cleaning house and the three-letter agencies in Washington. So, you know, I'm a small cog in this wheel, but a voice for freedom, and just exceedingly grateful that we have a new opportunity to set this ship aright.
Amen. And for people that don't know, Ryan essentially was just persecuted for helping people, saving lives, and telling the truth. That's essentially why they came after him, which brings us to what we're seeing here. You mentioned the team of rivals, and it's interesting for me. I mean, one of the chief reasons that I decided to buck many of my colleagues in this last presidential primary and back DeSantis over Trump is my dissatisfaction with Trump's handling of COVID in his final year in office, and then, frankly, kind of the dismissive way he addressed the concerns in the 2 years leading up to that primary as well. And now we have come full circle, and you look at the coalition he has put together that won him this last election, and that he is empowering so far with some of these key appointments, Ryan. It's essentially the same coalition of people of various persuasions that came together in 2020 and 2021 to push back against the scamdemic narrative. And that's essentially now, you know, the voting base that put him over the top. Trump is very transactional, and so he's honoring that with appointments like RFK Jr. I want to get your take on that appointment, number one, and then number two, because I know you're a man of faith as well. In his last successful run, evangelicals really helped to be the group that put Trump over the top. And he greatly rewarded them in his administration. But then I think we saw, particularly after Roe v. Wade was overturned, that the political leadership of that movement was just not in a position prepared, capable of capitalizing on that new access they were given and that success. And they've actually lost ground politically, like on the life issue in the last couple of years. Are the RFK, the medical dissident community, the resistance community, whatever you guys want to call yourselves, are you prepared to learn from those mistakes, to capitalize on the access that Trump's going to give you? Are you guys ready to govern in ways that the evangelicals, frankly, were not when Trump gave them, he made them his access point then?
I believe we can. And the reason I believe we can is I think this era of censorship is over. I think the era of dialogue, the era of conversation, the era of debate will return. And I think the best ideas in the room, once all the information is present and allowed to be heard, is going to win. So not everybody's going to agree on everything. I think RFK is a man of integrity. He's an imperfect human like all of us who's come to a much better life. We all talk about our skeletons and then our redemption journeys, as it were. And so I think he's a great man that will bring a great team together. I think he's going to take on the corporatocracy. I think the medical industrial complex is shaking in their boots right now, and they should. I think the simple things that the team of freedom fighters, as you put it, the medical independence, I think the voice will be heard more, and the people are clamoring for it. And so this is a great opportunity, as you state, and we don't want to drop the ball on this. It's not fourth and long and end of the game. This is the beginning of the game with a great game plan going forward if we execute. And so this is really a great opportunity for humility, for voices to be heard, a great opportunity for big changes and like big C changes, radical changes in terms of the way that government operates. And so I do think certain people and certain agencies are just going to go away altogether. I'm very that. But I do think there's going to be a voice now of reason within departments. Is everything going to be perfect? No, but do we have an excellent opportunity ahead if we put our nose to the grindstone? We do.
Ryan, I think RFK Jr.'s appointment is probably the even if there's never any legal recourse, there should be, but even if it's just government reform, I think his appointment is the closest we're likely ever going to get to a reckoning for what was done to us via COVID and done to people like you. And I think that, frankly, it justifies my vote for Trump just completely, totally in and of itself, that appointment alone. But what are your thoughts?
Well, I've enjoyed your tweets about that. Actually, I kind of laughed at some of those. I think
you mean
correct.
people. You mean COVID 43 on Twitter somehow thinks he's sacrificed more for the cause than RFK Jr. being exiled from his own family. You mean that guy? Yeah,
perhaps something like that. Yeah. Anyway, to your point, I think you're correct. I think we're going to have a reckoning, and this is why. Trust in anything in life is very simple. It's a simple equation. It's truth plus transparency. And I think what this appointment offers as Secretary of HHS is across agencies, we are going to require transparency. And the data is going to be there to evaluate finally. We're not going to have to spend all this time FOIA requesting data or things hidden and partnerships with corporatism and pharma. Data is going to be data. Transparency is going to be there for the American people. Any of us who are lucky enough to help the administration, that's what we're going to make sure of. This is the people's tax money. This is the people's government. And we're going to make sure that we're truthful and transparent so that you can trust again. And I think that's really one of Bobby's main pushes. And I think the American people are going to be very pleasantly surprised, especially in this first 6 months or so, as things do open up very quickly in terms of that transparency.
Have you been approached about being a part of that team of rivals at all? I wasn't going to ask, but you're the one that says any of us, so I took that, as a spoiler alert. Have you?
Well, I'm in a vetting process. I'm certainly willing to serve, whether it's in Washington or in an advisory role. I'm always grateful to make this country a better place. I took that oath in uniform many years ago. I want to make this constitutional republic the best one on earth again. And so if called upon and tapped, which, I've received the call, but, you have to go through all the vetting, and we'll see what happens. But I'm always here to serve and make the health of Americans better again, and absolutely play my small part in helping people just be better physically, mentally, emotionally, spiritually. Absolutely part of the calling of life.
Have you guys considered how much document shredding is going on at the NIH and NAID about right this moment? All right. And I would assume you guys have access to the best digital signature chasers out there, just looking for any tasty morsels that maybe the shredding machine didn't quite get their hands on between now and January 20th.
Well, I just hope they preserve their records, and I think there will be digital footprints, and you can shred all you want, but so even circumstantial evidence adds up, especially in the COVID situation and other situations. So I think I think some of these individuals within agencies better be retaining good lawyers right now.
Maybe he has, and if he has, don't tell us. But let's say RFK Jr. called you up on the phone and said, Ryan, 3 things that I have to do that are doable. Doesn't mean, when I say doable, it doesn't mean easy. I'm not talking low-lying fruit. I mean, I'll have to lean on people, there'll be pushback, right? But it's achievable, right? It's achievable, okay? what are 3 things that you would say to Bobby are achievable things that could be done here that would leave a lasting legacy when it comes to public health?
I think it's achievable to end toxins being injected into human bodies. By that, I mean these COVID shots can be pulled immediately based on the fraud by which they were authorized. I think that's achievable very quickly. Number 2, I do think that we can change the health of America through our food systems. I think a lot of the toxins that are in our American products that are not allowed in European nations and most nations on Earth, I think that can be accomplished as well. Again, this is a long hill to climb, happen immediately. And then the third thing is I do think we can improve the metabolic health of a nation. We're one of the sickest nations on Earth. We spend, 1/5 of our budget on healthcare, and 90% of that goes to chronic disease. I think with simple education and simple changes of the inputs into our system and taking away the corporate incentives, I think we can achieve that metabolic wellness as well. And I think those are all 3 very achievable things. And then that promise he's made that within 2 years, we'll see a big improvement in the health of Americans and Americans' children over a 2-year period. Absolutely.
We're also the only, as you know, also the only Western economy, modern economy that allows unfettered big pharma advertising on the air. I have to believe that is a benchmark goal as well, is to do something about that.
I think so. I think there will be much kicking and screaming and weeping and wailing, gnashing of teeth and, sackcloth and ashes. But I do think that's achievable. And I think that would change our system faster than anything. I love that you bring that point up.
So I'm a right winger, and I'm proud of it. And a lot of my right wing friends love Bobby, but they're concerned that because he's not a right winger, he may use the authority of that department in ways that may be used against us in the future. Like when you start talking about getting rid of some of the substances and things in our food. We were just talking yesterday. I mean, I watched people eat fries and Big Macs from McDonald's all my life. I grew up white trash, man. I watched it all my life, and I don't recall everybody being 300 pounds. So something's going on. All right, something's happening that wasn't happening in the 70s and 80s when I was growing up. But there's a lot of concern that if we are heavy-handed with this too much, that these will be principles then will be used against us. Because now, I have no idea why anybody thinks Democrats are going to be restrained no matter what we do or don't. Okay, but I do understand the inclination of, do we want to assert power in ways that sets precedents later on that would go against us? How would you respond to that?
I do think it's a libertarian approach, but I think education is critical. If you are being given a poison in a food and all these toxic chemicals, at least you have the right to know that it's there. And then
correct.
If you choose to consume it, that's your choice.
Yep.
But I think transparency, label transparency, GMO transparency, heavy metal transparency, toxicity transparency. Hey, like you, look, I a lot of McDonald's and Happy Meals as a kid, Roy Rogers, you name it.
Yep.
But back then, food tastes like food because it actually had food in it. So instead of all these food-like substances, let's go back to just basic food. And I bet that alone could make a huge difference. But I like the construct of, freedom of choice, but also freedom of knowing what you're consuming. And, whether it's in a shot, whether it's in a food, whether it's in the air you're breathing, at least we know what's there. And I think that goes across both aisles. That's a non-political issue. If someone's poisoning me, please let me know they're poisoning me. And if we can improve those products and improve the health by being transparent, why not? That's common sense.
I've got about a minute here. What's your biggest concern? And do you get a sense from the vetting conversations you've had that the Trump administration is really serious about these kinds of reform efforts?
Well, my biggest concern still is the technology of the genetic injections and the corruption by which those were brought to market. So I still think those need to be pulled. What most Americans don't know is a self-amplifying RNA, it has its own machinery, is being rolled out for bird flu by a corrupt company in San Diego called Arcturus. I was in Japan a couple of weeks ago talking to some parliamentarians with colleagues there. They've rolled it out over there for COVID. They're rolling it out here in a trial. I want that that stopped. That's my biggest concern. In this whole process, I think there are going to be very vocal people asking for actual science to be done and for dangerous things to be stopped. So I am hyper optimistic in the sense that there are good people being talked to. There are going to be great teams that come together, and they're going to hit the ground running. And we are going to make America healthy again, and we're going to stop the corporate corruption as quickly as possible.
Well, you're one of the men I am honored to have gotten to know during this process over the last few years, brother. I mean, you're a total badass, a hero. And just thank you for everything you've done and continue to do. And if I don't talk to you again, hope you and your family have wonderful holidays, all right?
Likewise, my brother. Thank you so much.
You bet. Dr. Ryan Cole here with us on The Blaze. What do you think, gentlemen?
Yeah, if there's one, RFK, weird. There's righties saying he should be nowhere near this thing. RFK Jr., one of the most important things he could do is get you to know people like Dr. Ryan Cole. If I could do anything to make the America people wake up to not only this issue, but a lot of issues, I would take every video we've ever done of your interviews with Ryan, Pierre Corey, Scott Atlas, McCullough, Risch. I'm probably forgetting people, but people still don't know who those men are. Mm-hmm. And that's part of the problem, why we don't understand anything about anything. We've been they're coming after Ryan Cole for a reason. We have to know who these people are. We need to fill the healthcare industry with them, and we need to make courage contagious.
Amen. Aaron?
Indeed. I mean, it's been a racket for far too long, and that was illuminated, at least in part, during COVID. It's just been a racket. I mean, even if it's indiscriminate, getting different voices in there, getting different people in there to just take a look at it, that would be a healthy thing for NIH. That would be a healthy thing for HHS. Even if it's just, that person's crazy. But get somebody in there to have a different set of eyes, because we cannot continue on this path. I mean, Dr. Cole started off by talking about trust. I don't know how you can look at our health or sick care system right now and really have it be a critical mass of people who actually trust it. I don't know how any honest person could say that the average person trusts, and that's a huge, huge problem.
Amen. I mean, the alternative information system and stream that could be created here. Yes. And ultimately, DeSantis did that in Florida, and that's how he toppled the regime in his state. All right, and empowering people like Latipo and those kinds of things to do counter information. Yes. All right, buy, sell, or hold coming next. Stay tuned. Back here with Hour 2, live and on demand on Blaze TV, radio, and podcast with Todd Erzin and Aaron McIntyre. I'm Steve Deace. Let us know what you think about what we think via the stevedeace.com inbox by emailing us, steve@stevedeace.com. That's DEACE. Like us on Facebook, MeWe, and Gab. Follow me at Steve Deace Show on X, formerly known as Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Please also make sure to subscribe to our brand new YouTube channel at Deace Show on YouTube, as we're trying all over there. Because of all the censorship we face for having people like Ryan Cole on the air the last few years. That's why, frankly. So we're starting all over again at Deace Show on YouTube. That's at Deace Show on YouTube. Some of you might be like, well, you just had Ryan Cole on last hour, so you have to start another YouTube page. Probably. But we're just that dang stubborn. All right. At Deace Show on YouTube is where you want to go, at Deace Show. And then also, if you go to the podcast and listen to that, thank you. We want to make sure every time we do one of those, it shows up in your feed. So to make that happen, you need to hit subscribe, or if you're on iTunes, follow, and it will. Every time we drop a new one of these, it'll be right there in your podcast feed. And then also, if you wouldn't mind dropping us a 5-star review on the podcast platform you prefer, if you like us, of course. And many of you, thousands upon thousands of you have, and we appreciate each and every one, so thank you for that. And you guys know I appreciate my Miracle Made sheets. We are in the change of seasons as we speak, man. It was 60 degrees here over the weekend in Iowa. It's 40-something right now, but with like 40-mile-an-hour winds, so it feels like winter. It's that time of year, right? That's why we call it the most wonderful time of the year. And so that's also why you want the temperature-regulating sheets from Miracle Made. They will help you to sleep with the right temperature all night long. If I got to lobby some kind of complaint, I'm so comfortable in these things. I have a hard time getting out of bed. I'm so snuggled in there every night. I'm like, I got to get up. These things are almost too comfy. That might be a warning. Maybe you don't want these. They're too comfortable. Maybe you're like Todd. You want to be that comfortable. You don't want to be this comfortable. I think, Todd, you'll even approve. You're allowed to be that comfortable after a hard day's night, getting good night's sleep. That's the one time you can be that comfortable. You're okay with it then?
I have these sheets.
So you know what I'm talking about.
I do.
Yeah, they're that good. Folks, they're phenomenal. I didn't know you had these sheets.
I do.
Well, folks, that's the best pitch I can offer right there. All right? This is something, this is so much comfort even Todd Erzin could not say no. What does that tell you? What does that tell you when even Todd Erzin is like, I have to give in on this one? That's the best pitch. I'll just stop right now. All right. So upgrade your sleep when you go to trymiracle.com/Deace. Use the code Deace to claim your free 3-piece towel set and save over 40% off. Again, that's trymiracle.com/Deace to treat yourself. Even the Erzins are treating themselves to this in between shots of vinegar. Trymiracle.com/Deace. Again, trymiracle.com/Deace. Use the promo code Deace for more than 40% off at trymiracle.com/Deace. All right, are you ready for some buy, sell, or hold?
I think so.
Are you? Okay. Otherwise known as humorless gold?
Yeah, let's do this.
All right, let's roll. All right, Aaron's got the submissions. We have not yet seen a single one of them. We're going to get through as many of these as we can. What remains, we will do in the overtime today for Blaze TV subscribers. Todd, Aaron will make the submission known. You and I will make whether we are going to buy or sell it known. If you use at hold at any point in time, however, at any point in time, that is considered that's a violation of the dude code. And therefore, if you use a hold, you have to go out and get yourself an anonymous burner account and just post humorless scolds all day long and confusing narcissism for being principled. That's your penalty.
That's as impossible for me to do as most of the Lindsey Graham things you asked me to do.
Well, it's funny you should mention that. If that's a bridge too far for you, okay? If that's a
I'm
bridge,
a benevolent God.
Yes. This isn't a trial, it's a sentencing. All right. Death, or you can walk across or exile. Death or exile.
Death or Lindsey Graham.
Yes, so you could do that, or you can find out firsthand what bridge too far means to Lindsey Graham. Those are your choices.
Also bad, so no.
All right. Let's go.
Before we get to that, I need to make a correction to something in the montage. I've been inundated over the past hour with literally two people who pointed out to me that the current mayor of Knox County, Tennessee, the move that he did on the upcoming Secretary of Education was a tombstone pile driver. Not a body slam. So.
Correct. That's very important to note. Especially, I think is that Glenn Jacobs, I believe.
Yeah.
He's a big listener to this show.
Really?
I've heard from Glenn many times in the past. Yes. Yeah. So
I thought that was hilarious.
We have in all seriousness, because after going to war with the DeSantis deadheads at the end of the last election, I am now declaring war on the humorless scolds. Okay, but I'm doing all this for a purpose. What Bridget Fedesi said the other day, that we have an opportunity here to be the cool kids in a pop culture driven zeitgeist, to be the like we've talked about the church, embrace being the rebels now. Embrace being the counterculture. We're the edgy ones now. We're only going to have sex with our wives. We're going to wait until we get married to have kids. And we're going to work a job and pay our bills. That's the counterculture. Embrace that motif. I'm not saying change our value system, but embrace that motif. That's gold. That from a messaging, branding standpoint, that's gold, Jerry. Gold. We have an opportunity now. We're the ones that can laugh at ourselves. We're the ones that can poke fun and not take everything seriously all the time. In a comfort-driven, normie-driven electorate, who would you rather be? If that's the electorate that's going to decide elections for the not-too-distant future here, which side would you want to be? The humorless scold? Wear a mask. Or we don't take ourselves very seriously. Yeah. We really believe in stuff, but we can let our hair down. We can make fun of stuff. We're not We're not gonna go to blue sky, okay? Because and I want to make sure I lead off my sports broadcast with telling you what kind of a mangina I really am. You can now find me on blue sky in between my sports bro takes, okay? I would much rather be where the fun people own that stuff. Take advantage of that tactically. It is stupid when your enemy just hands you victory. It's stupid to reject it. Take it. Take it. We have a chance now to be the fun ones again. When we were growing up in the 80s, Todd, remember movies? Remember where the IRS agent was the bad guy in like every movie? Remember who the villain was in Ghostbusters? Do you remember who it was? The EPA. The Environmental Protection Agency is the bad guy in Ghostbusters, trying to shut down the Ghostbusters from saving New York City. The EPA is the bad guy. A movie I loved when I was a kid was called Kidco with Scotty Schwartz. Do you remember that movie?
Never heard of it.
Oh, he was the guy. He was the kid that was the toy. Remember that too, with Jackie Gleason, and he's one of the kids in A Christmas Story.
Yeah.
So they did a movie called Kidco, where they like started their own corporation to save their dad's farm or something, and the kids started a business to save their dad's farm from the IRS. The IRS is the bad guy. When we were, if Aaron's looking at me like you're gonna tell me that Reagan won California twice, won it twice actually, okay. There was a world once where California was red, and Hollywood made movies where IRS agents and EPA bureaucrats were the bad guys. This country did exist once, Todd. You and I lived to grow up in that country. We have a chance to do that again, to grab those mantles again and isolate our communist enemies as the humorless scolds that they are. Do not try to out-humorless scold them. That's a terrible take. Terrible. And I will throat punch you and nut punch you for it. So I'm coming. You just need to know I'm coming for you, in fact. We are being given a great opportunity here to be the cool kids in the room. Do not, nerds, no. We won't do that. No.
Oh, we will.
Not on my watch. No, we won't. Okay? Go ahead, Aaron. I'm sorry. Sermon over.
So you mean like when you jokingly say that you don't like hearing the Mac startup sound 5 minutes before the show, and I correct you and I say it's technically 6 minutes before the show. Don't do that.
Made me laugh. Yeah, that's, you don't ever want to hear from your engineer the reboot sound of all the computers right before the show goes on the air. Yes. And I said to Aaron, that's not what you want to hear 5 minutes. He goes, well, let's get 6 minutes. That made me laugh. I did laugh, right? I did laugh at that,
you
right?
Did?
I did. All right. That's what I'm talking about. Okay. They want to be the humorless scolds. Let them have it. Let them have it all. Let them be the humorless scolds. You bet.
All right. We'll boot off this week's Buy, Sell, or Hold with Caravan DLM. The people, including some conservatives, unfortunately, pushing back on RFK Jr.'s agenda to fix America's food supply, are basically saying seed oils are safe and effective. Trust the science.
You could apply that to the ingredients in your food you cannot pronounce and don't know how to spell and everything else. So, yeah, something is happening. Some of it is we are way more sedentary now with the ability, with more of a technocracy than we used to have before. So some of this is behavioral for sure. Okay. I'm kind of a subject matter expert on the obesity problem. I've been athletic as a kid. I've been obese. I've been athletic. I've been obese. I've fought the battle of the bulge one way, shape, or form most of my entire life. I mean, that photo we show up there that I got the oil painting done from Painting Your Life with my mom, I'm already jelly roll right there, and I'm like 1. Okay, so I have fought this battle my whole life. All right. Some of this is clearly behavioral with the sedentary lifestyles that we live today, how much of the world is at our fingertips, how much you're encouraged to just lay down and take it easy and do things from literally your fanny pack. Fair? Some of it is.
Yes.
What percentage of it is, I don't know, but a not insignificant percentage just is we're just lazy people. And we're technologically driven people, which even if we weren't lazy, would lend itself to things being more sedentary by nature.
Yes.
That is it 100%? No. Is it 90? Might be, but it's not 100. I also know too that I never knew a kid. I went to 11 different schools. At every school, there was a Jehovah's Witness kid who always couldn't have birthday cake when it was somebody's birthday at every school, whether it was Florida, New York, Michigan, Iowa, everywhere, California. There was always the Jehovah's Witness kid who could observe no holidays and set it out while the rest of us ate the other kid's cake. There was never a kid who had a peanut allergy. Never, no matter where I went. We literally injected peanut butter intravenously into our brains with butter knives. No one knew what a peanut allergy was. Never heard of it until like 10 years ago. No clue. Never seen it in my life. So some of it is behavioral and lifestyle for sure, and that needs to be addressed. But there is something clearly going on when it comes to the food we're eating. Clearly.
Yes.
I didn't know did you know what a gluten intolerance was when you were growing up?
No.
Nope. I didn't either. Something's not right. Okay? So I'll buy.
Yeah, stop vaccinating your kids on that front. But this is actually has everything to do with what you said, Steve, about the cool kids table. Like here, this is why conservatism, not the specific ideas per se, but the brand, it's a terrible, it's been a proven terrible filter for getting to the good, the true, and the beautiful. So yeah, it's going to get it wrong again on this run. It has everything. That study I've mentioned multiple times now, and I've got to just go back and find it so I can tell you who did it and what it is, but where male, female, Republican, Democrat, ultimately everybody is just kind of massaged into believing things because they are easily manipulated and they aren't really making a reasoned principled decision. They're just kind of going along. Conservatism has been addicted to that just like everybody else. It hasn't really been fighting for ideas. It sees RFK. It sees a food thing that it's not used to. It didn't grow up with. The cool kids around them aren't doing that. And ultimately, at the end of their day, most conservatives and most Christian conservatives just want to look the same on the cul-de-sac as like everybody else. So this issue fits into it just like so many other issues do. You're just not capable at this point in your life of going off even this much of a fraction of your path, let alone this. And you got to get used to this.
On the peanut allergy thing, Steve, I was just, my wife is reading a book. It might be, yeah, it's Marty Macri's book. We just had him on to talk about this. He talks about peanut allergies in his book. In the 90s, and you can look this up, in the 90s, the American Academy of Pediatrics, based on flimsy evidence that has since been withdrawn, told pregnant and breastfeeding moms to avoid all nuts, including peanuts, and to avoid them with their children until they're 3 years of age. So you're not getting exposed to this. Mm-hmm. Again, the American, it's the experts in the room that were telling people, mm-hmm. moms back then, not to do that. That's what Macri, as I understand it, was saying, or at least an explanation or a hypothesis of why we have so many allergies now. So yeah, you're right. Something's not right. Noel Olind, Biden voted for Trump.
I love this meme. I'm going to sell. Well, yeah, I mean, I was going to buy on the grounds I'm not sure Biden knows who he even voted for. I doubt this happened, but I love this troll, the spirit of it, but I'm going to sell the merits of it.
I think it's likely he didn't vote for either one.
I could also see that too. Yeah.
He probably wrote in Biden to the last, which is okay, whatever.
Corn pop.
Yeah, corn pop.
Actually,
yes.
If he voted corn pop,
yes.
I'm buying the official White House Christmas card. If he voted corn pop, just I got to respect that on some level.
Yes.
I do. Yes.
Tyler Small says it's oh boy, it's refreshing to see a Kennedy cause other people's heads to explode for a change.
Oh my gosh.
So,
how did that possibly make it through your filter, Aaron?
I thought it was funny.
You were just lecturing us about being humorless scolds. I'm not talking about murder humor. All right. Fair criticism of me, but I still have to sell.
Yeah,
come on. Yeah.
Patrick says the largest uphill battle of second Trump term will be getting long-term positive changes that have staying power beyond his presidency due to Johnson and Thune leading the Congress.
Now, this was... Okay. I get it now. This is a funny. This was like Steven Weber level deadpan humor right here. But where you don't catch the irony at first because the tone is so deadpan, and then it hits you like a second later that this was just a smart alecky take, right? No. So on those grounds, I'm buying. Because I can't believe anyone in this audience posted this unironically and sent it to this show. It has to be a troll.
That's what I'm wondering.
And it's masterful. It's a masterful troll. Who was that? Patrick, masterful troll. I'm buying what you're selling, okay? That is phenomenal sarcasm. You almost got me for a second. Almost. But well done, brother. I'm buying your sarcasm. I like it.
Todd?
You're unconvinced of Thune and Johnson's vigor?
And I have to believe Patrick's IQ is in the triple digits, and so he's not either. I just have to believe that. So I just think that was a hella troll, and I love it. I'm buying. I like it. Good sarcasm there.
I can let that stand.
Right.
Jeffrey Preston Bezos' Stan account, if I can talk, says the Lions go all the way to the Super Bowl. That would give Steve, personally, a CFP, Natty, and a Super Bowl.
I have to buy. That would be absolutely incredible. You bet. And I've debated back and forth, do I move heaven and earth if the Lions get to the Super Bowl? Do I move heaven and earth to go? One, it's going to be like 10 times more expensive than taking the family to the Rose Bowl was, number one. But number two, I kind of think I want to, the more I've gone back and forth on it, it's in New Orleans this year, by the way, or next year. You guys ever been in New Orleans?
No.
It is a funky town, man. It is. It's a funky place.
I'd like to go.
You should go once in your life because it's a funky place. There's like no middle class. Everybody
food.
there's like poor or wealthy. Okay. I think I'm gonna stay home if we make it and share that experience with the family and as many friends as possible, rather than just take me and Noah or me and Amy and spend about $20,000 to go to that. Okay, but I have debated it, but I think I'm going to stay at home if we do it. Watch it from home with friends.
I've been to the studio where Funky Town was recorded.
Have you really?
Yes.
Nice.
That seems important right now.
It does. Todd, I'm assuming you're selling.
I forgot what the question was.
Exactly.
Was
it about her trap? Will they just win? It's a good value bet right now. Good team. They're a legitimately good team.
Clinton Shaw says Michigan's struggles without Jim Harbaugh prove that their recent success was mostly due to sign stealing. Without knowing their opponent's plays, they're just another overrated Big Ten team. If Ohio State had done the same, they would have been banned from the postseason. But Michigan got a free pass because the NCAA was desperate to keep them around for ratings. Set your feet.
I love this. I'm buying this. Another great troll. I like it.
We have not begun to troll yet.
Because clearly, we got punished before there was even an investigation. We got punished when the league put out a report saying our coach didn't know anything, and they suspended him anyway. So, I know you know those things, Clinton. I know you know also that they went to the NFL, the coaches that did what we did here last year and are doing a great job there with the Chargers, clearly indicating they know how to coach. So I know you know all that crap, and I love it. I love the troll. I think it's hilarious. I'm buying. By the way, had a chance to talk to Connor Stallions over the weekend at length. He's doing great. So shout out to Connor, American legend.
See, interestingly enough, I'm selling because it's not Michigan last year, a legitimately really good team who, like Barry Bonds, did not need to cheat but to be great, but they cheated anyways. As I've said, there's no proof that they cheated enough to indict them for the kind of crimes you're talking about, but it's undeniable that they cheated. It's also undeniable that Connor Stallions is nobody to model your sons after. He's a dude with very questionable ethics. He's absolutely not a folk hero unless it's in the bizarro world. But this doesn't have to be either or. The easiest thing to do is say, celebrate Michigan's national championship. Also saying, yeah, that's nothing I think we should have been a part of. This isn't complicated math. But Sports Bro, like I said, nothing about being Sports Bro makes you smarter or more ethical, and this is a fun trip down that slide.
Todd, do you think the solution to the controversies regarding whether or not Indiana should get into the college football playoff, do you think that would be solved by expanding the playoff?
Aaron, God bless you, son. You know exactly where all
how many teams?
The levers of power. Let's talk. This is so stupid.
I'm thinking 32 teams and no bowl games.
This is the thing. Everybody just had to have this. The playoff, it's going to be the greatest thing ever. And if everybody's honest, everybody's looking at the field day by day. It's like, this is clearly not the greatest thing ever.
You guys want to
And they're talking about now playing for a conference championship, winning games. That's a bad thing because now about the playoff. Guys, no one can win these arguments against me, which is why they don't even try. This has all made you retarded. The Indian guys are, what if the people are retarded? He's talking about you. Being a sports bro honestly, you just reek of the most cosmic weakness, and you love it. And I'm just pointing it out, but it's obviously true. Obviously so. And nothing about this is triggering to me. I enjoy being right. So, and I'm more right about this, and you're more wrong about this than anything.
He's still going.
It's so fantastic. What's working? What's going well on this?
I can't breathe.
And yes, Connor Stallions, I hope you're listening. You're a really bad person. You're a punk, and somebody needs to tell you.
Oh my God.
You're a punk.
You want to hear something really funny? Is I was in the airport Friday night, man, and I've just had enough of travel, and I'm like, I'd really rather be at home with my family. And I'm texting a pity party to Erzin, and he's basically just not receiving it at all. He's like, "Get over yourself." And then Darren, you'll love this. And then I decided, and now what's going to happen is Daniel's going to get there, and there's going to be some 4th level cabinet official I've never heard of, and he's going to just completely lose his crap over it. We have to talk about that for 2 hours. And Todd texts back, "Well, that part's true." I laugh. People in the airport. I'm sitting there in the terminal. I busted out laughing out loud. And the whole airport terminal, the whole gate turns and looks at me like, "What is so funny?" Okay, I just busted out laughing at that. All right, that's a great segue to talking about our friends over at Patriot Mobile. If you are tired with supporting companies who hate you, you unfortunately can't avoid that everywhere you go. But one of the places where you can is with our friends at Patriot Mobile. Take a stand for conservative causes and also just get a better product, first and foremost. When you make the switch to Patriot Mobile, America's only American mobile phone provider. They're 100% U.S.-based customer service team. That means you can understand them. They have the best plans for your needs. They'll customize it, whether you want to keep your phone, switch your phone, keep your number, switch your number. Whatever you want to do, go to patriotmobile.com/Steve. That's patriotmobile.com/Steve. And if you use the offer code Steve, they'll give you a free month of service to get you started today at patriotmobile.com/Steve. Offer code Steve at patriotmobile.com/Steve.
How do we not have a sports podcast side hustle by now? Because that was gold. That content right there.
Oh, gosh.
Was absolute gold.
If you do say so yourself. All right, go ahead, Aaron.
Next up, we go to Brian Rose, Mount Rushmore of Steve Day show tropes that need to be retired in 2025. Lindsey Graham. Fill in the blank will happen before Steve gets invited to CPAC. Set your feet and look at the polls.
I definitely think, look at the polls! That probably has to be retired for sure. I'll let Todd determine on set your feet.
I think that was kind of a one-year wonder thing.
Okay,
yeah.
All right. The CPAC thing, I'm totally fine with it either way. You know, whether it continues on or not, makes no difference to me. I've tried to get rid of Lindsey Graham, and again, I'm not one to deny the ladies what they want. And the ladies have spoken en masse, demanding that the Lindsey Graham blasts remain on blast. Even the ladies even email me Lindsey Graham blasts. Okay, that happens at least a few times a week. So I'm kind of the victim where that one's concerned. I mean,
Oh, we're all the victim where that's concerned. Every one of us.
We're doing customer service here, especially where the ladies are concerned, and they want Lindsey Graham put on blast. So, I'm going to probably fight you on that one, or at least the ladies will. But on the other three, I'm not married to him in any particular way, shape, or form. So I'll buy and sell, whatever you guys want to do.
Agreed.
Okay.
Jeff Gibson is next. The sports bro might have actually been a plus in this election, as they voted for Trump because they didn't have enough time to listen to the media's lies about Trump over the latest free agent rankings.
What do you think? Could there be something to this or not?
No, don't do 4D chess. No. This is like Steve started off talking about Nancy Mace. Allow the true stuff be the true stuff. Allow the stupid stuff to be the stupid stuff, and proceed. Don't weave it into a nice comfy quilt that you get to wear. No, I'm not doing that. Sports bro is a problem we need to overcome. It's not, I'm thinking beyond this election. This is not sustainable. We cannot, this has everything to do with Steve's obesity epidemic. We make all kinds of choices in our lives that make us dumb and fat and unethical. And I'm not in on any of them.
All right. Deace.
It's dumb and unethical. Not it. All right, moving on.
That was not intentional. Not intentional at all.
He just knows. He's heard that song before. He's like, he's like the DJ.
Wind it up. Here we go. Yes.
I woke up with a cold this morning, and about 15 minutes ago, I hit a wall. So I'm kind of not all here right now. Dacian memes for pumpkin spiced queens. Says one day, a group of young men dressed in sports jerseys, halo helmets, and carrying lightsabers will start going to school boards to fight back against tyrannical educational decrees. This will be Erzendor's army.
Hey, yes!
Show me.
Yes!
Show me.
Yes! Yes!
I will recant everything I've said if you take that level of ground. But that's what it's going to take.
I have to buy this. Yes. And you do fight soldiers. You fight wars with the soldiers you have. Yes.
The dorks and the dweebs.
More in a moment. One of the problems, secondary problems that's developed with a stagnant housing market where our home values are skyrocketing and we're sitting on all this equity with our existing homes is that's increased the potential of home title fraud. It's real. It's happening more and more. And most people don't even think to check the title to their home or investment properties until it's too late. And they find out that someone has used quick claim deeds and other means to pilfer their property and has been taking out loans against their equity for an indeterminate amount of time that they're now maybe on the hook for. So you want to take this seriously and use Home Title Lock to protect your priorities with their triple lock protection system. It monitors your title 24/7. It alerts you if there's any changes at all to your title. It'll work fast to restore your title with no out-of-pocket cost if indeed fraud occurs. So don't wait until you're a victim. You can get a free 30-day trial and a free title history report when you use my promo code Steve Deace at HomeTitleLock.com. Again, HomeTitleLock.com. Use my code Steve Deace. Get a free title history report and a free 30-day trial when you go to HomeTitleLock.com. Use the code Steve Deace. HomeTitleLock.com. Use the code Steve Deace. All right, let's get back to some buy, sell, or hold, Aaron.
We do have some breaking news. I don't know if you saw this during the break. Sam Smith has clarified that they are self-partnered, which means that they is not single, but they is actually in a relationship with themselves. Reaction.
Isn't that the dude that performed as Satan a couple of years ago?
Yeah.
That's my reaction. So on brand.
Todd, any thoughts? Okay, moving on. We have a top 10 list. Most rewatchable live-action, family-friendly films, excluding Christmas films that came out prior to 1980. Okay.
All right.
Number 10, Dr. Dolittle.
Oh, man, it's been so many years since I've seen the original, but okay.
I don't think I've ever seen the original.
I don't know if I have either. Number 9, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang.
Absolutely.
I have seen this, yes.
Absolute classic. I'm in on number 9 for sure, yes.
I honestly haven't seen that either.
Number 8, Escape to Witch Mountain.
Absolute. Loved that movie when I was a little kid. You bet. I'm a buy. Yep.
You have seen every single movie ever.
No, there's a few on this list I've not seen.
Number 7, Yours, Mine, and Ours.
Not seen.
I still haven't seen one of these
haven't seen that one. Saw the remake, but not that one.
Number 6, The Wizard of Oz.
It's one of the greatest movies of all time.
Gotta be higher.
Yeah, I don't
it
know
should be
how
higher.
this
I mean,
isn't higher,
it's one of the greatest movies of all time.
Number 5, Mary Poppins.
Also a great film.
Sure.
It should not be higher than The Wizard of Oz, but also a great film.
And amazing how they hold up Mary Poppins, and get to another one. You watch it as a father of 4 daughters. You watch these films.
Yep.
They hold up.
By the way, the remake with Emily Blunt, I'm not just saying that because, I love me some Emily Blunt, but the remake with Emily Blunt, or actually it was a sequel, Mary, it was the sequel, is all from a few years ago. That's also very good, by the way.
Number 4, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory.
I mean, it's an all-time great film, too.
Agreed.
It shouldn't be ahead of Wizard of Oz, but it's an all-time great film.
Number 3, Star Wars.
Well, yes, of course. Yeah.
Number 2, The Parent Trap.
Never seen the original.
And I never saw the original either. I've seen the
original.
remake, but not the original.
And number 1, The Sound of Music. What does it say that
I've never seen The Sound of Music.
Any list, you've never seen The Sound of
I
Music?
have never seen it, no.
What?
Of any list of
Wait.
movies that we have done, this is the one that I have seen the most movies on. I've seen 7 out of 10 of these movies.
Wait.
And these are pre-1980 movies.
Yeah, I've seen Star Wars, Willy Wonka,
21st
Mary
century.
Poppins, The Wizard of Oz, Escape to Witch Mountain, Chitty Chitty Bang Bang, and Dr. Dolittle.
Yeah, at
So I
this
think
point,
that's
if you
7.
haven't seen Sound
You
of
just
Music,
told
you
us
probably never will.
within the last hour about the movie with the kid from Toy.
Scotty Schwartz.
See,
I saw Kidco.
but
yeah,
you're
I think that's
all
name.
the
I gotta look
movies
it up.
you've seen. Your daughter is a theater expert, loves singing, loves. How have you not seen and it's a legitimate all-timer. How have you not seen The Sound of Music?
That's a great question. The daughters and the wife have watched it themselves and together. It's Amy's like all-time whatever. That and Somewhere in Time are like Amy's 2 all-time favorite films. So I mean, they've seen it a bunch of times. It's just never got around that I ever saw it. I've never seen it.
Wow.
Yes, Kidco, 1985, 1984, Scotty Schwartz. Yes, I saw that many times. The Adventures of Buckaroo Banzai, I've watched that a few times too back in the day. Yes, but I've never seen Sound of Music. Yes.
All right, next up we go to Slappy Matt, who says, while it is not required, all Christian men should strive to live up to the requirements of the elder and deacon set forth in Timothy and Titus.
I think that's a great idea. I'll buy. Sure. It's a great standard to aim for. You bet.
Thanks. I'm selling just because this is the guy I think I remember. This guy just spends his whole life trolling us, and now he's just going to try to slide in with some kind of...
Really?
Isn't he?
Is he? I don't know. Frankly, I can't keep them all. I cannot keep them all straight.
If I'm thinking of somebody different, and I can't keep them all straight either. But if that's you.
But I love the standard. I think it's a great idea. I think it's a great idea for a standard. You bet. I like it. I'll buy.
Tom Gabriel is next. The soundtrack to the Lord of the Rings trilogy is the greatest score in cinema history, but it doesn't get the credit it deserves because it wasn't done by John Williams. It was done by Howard Shore. I think there's actually a grain of truth in
I
this.
do think there's some merit to it. I mean, I don't think it's equivalent to the score of Empire Strikes Back or Superman the Motion Picture, but the idea that it's underrated because it wasn't done by John Williams, who did both of the films I just mentioned, I can totally buy into that. And it is an absolutely incredible score. It is. So I'll buy. You bet.
I'm absolutely buy. I think one of the reasons why these movies can be talked about in the same breath is because when all that is said and done, and if you don't nail the soaring score on things like this, you're not. I mean, this whole thing is ultimately these big epic movies, they're supposed to be symphonic. I mean, you are supposed to feel it. And if you don't get that score right, I mean, same thing with the end of the Endgame movie, when the music that they've been building up and that kicks in, and before he says Avengers Assemble, I mean, you got to nail it. You have to.
You do. I agree. That's to me, I think, the toughest chore James Gunn has with his forthcoming Superman film next year, based on some things that we've seen. Saw a lot of photos and stuff. We don't know a lot about the plot, but how the movie looks, and they were filming it last summer. And I went from, I'm not sure, I mean, this guy has made a career with irreverence. He can do this kind of reverential material. And it's very clear he intends to try to do that and wants to do something that's in the vein of the Christopher Reeve films. And that's what he's aiming for. So I'm more optimistic where that is concerned. But that score is so iconic. To come up with something other than that, you know, it'd be as foreign to as tuning into a Star Wars movie that did not have that score, whether it's John Williams' orchestra doing it or not. You know, it's so iconic. Coming up with something else, I do believe he's working on an original score. So I think will be a hard nut to crack.
Well, the Christopher Nolan Batman score, excellent.
Yeah.
The Superman theme for Henry Cavill, I thought.
Was also very good. Same guy, by the way.
Excellent, but they understood the source material. Here's one of the Pattinson Batman. I've only seen the movie once, and I remember enjoying it. But this speaks like it went full emo. Mm-hmm. The music is all emo stuff, and I'm not even saying the music is bad, but it's different. Yep. And all the great superhero movies that succeed ultimately at the end, they soar.
Yeah,
and they didn't even try to soar with the music.
The music. The Robert Pattinson Batman movie is a great film too, but you're right. The vibe was really a 90s Nirvana.
Yeah,
and even using Nirvana music, but it was a grunge music video basically.
And I don't think. It's going to be very, very, not that the other Batman movies aren't dark, but unless you're trying to go to place transcendent, and that place didn't, it's going to be hard to get to the place emotionally that people want to go with movies.
Mm-hmm.
Next up, we go to Ethan McClelland. Steve and Aaron schemed for Todd's mic to fail during last week's Theology Thursday in order to silence the Catholic. But spiritual forces prevailed, allowing for true discussion to occur.
Oh, I love that. That's great. I'll buy. Another good troll. I like it.
Honestly, if you guys are paying attention, the way you guys lose your minds online, and that's going to be part of the future. We're going to be having like a new Protestant Catholic battle royal, I know, but like it's all and you regularly tune into our shows, and we never have those things here. You might want to pay closer attention. There's a lot of sabotaging going on of along religious lines, but it's not happening on this show.
Jared Y says the rosary is more biblical than sola scriptura.
Will sell. If I believe that, I'd be Catholic. So sell.
Yeah, well, I obviously buy, but the logic again, this doesn't. Ooh, newsflash: Catholics are Catholics and Protestants aren't.
Correct.
Wow.
Correct. Yes. Yeah.
Steve Senny says MAGA should secretly create a law firm-style non-governmental organization whose purpose is bringing lawsuits to media, journalists, and normies for their defamation, hate speech, and misinformation about conservatives. What do you think of that idea? Steve Senny says we need a right-wing SPLC.
I freaking love it.
And me too. I was going to say hard. This is like of all the I'll take this buy over all the other buys.
Yeah, I freaking love it.
Let's get real. You want to get nuts?
Yeah.
Let's get nuts.
I think there must be a deterrent. Fairness is not a deterrent. Mutual assured destruction is a deterrent. Justice and punishment are deterrents. There must be deterrents. There must be. And why did The View read that correction on the air yesterday about Matt Gaetz? Because their internal ombudsman they don't have any of that. And said, well, technically he's not been convicted of anything, let alone even charged. They don't even have that. Because they were threatened with legal action.
So
there must be punishment for bad and wrongdoing. There must be.
This is a great point. And right now it's mostly theoretical. You'll recall, and you've mentioned it on the show before, but when Reagan's elected and Carter's still in office, that time we are in right now, and the Iranians, it was all language back then, but the Iranians like, I'm not going to wait for the language to come reality. Mm-hmm. And so, yeah, we're changing our tune on this. The same, right now they're thinking he might be crazy enough, he's just going to do it this time. Well, let's not have it. Once he gets into office, let's have some doing.
Amen. There has to be punishment. There has to be accountability. There just has to be. If you do not punish bad behavior, you'll get more of it. And I don't think the argument anymore, well, if we set this precedent, none of that matters. They're going to do whatever they want to do anyway. Okay? So the social compact is broken. I have to keep saying that. So rules of decorum and fairness, again, we're not going to take away other people's God-given rights. But when you use your God-given rights to impose on the God-given rights of other people, that is the very definition of crime. When you use your agency to impose on the agencies of others, that's the very definition of a crime. You are not allowed to commit libel and slander, correct?
Right.
Correct. All right. Those are violations of the code. So I'm totally fine with punishing these things and punishing them severely to make examples. You bet.
All right, Matt's collection is next. American boots on the ground in Ukraine or Russia before the inauguration.
Sell.
I hope. That's a statement of hope as much as it is opinion, but I'll sell.
See, there's a certain aspect of running out the clock, the time quotient involved in making all that happen, akin to when Trump lost to Biden the first time. Like, it's one thing with this, and this missile stuff is crazy, but to get boots on the ground over there in that amount of time, as crazy as this military is, there's all kinds of people, especially most of the grunts that want no part of that. No, I don't think there's enough time to make that happen.
All right, before, Aaron, we finish out with a lightning round, a word about our friends over at PREBORN. I know a lot of us are thinking about year-end giving right now. There are few causes better than the cause of life, and you can donate to that, to an effective pro-life organization that's taking ground against the enemy. And that's our friends over at PREBORN. That partnership that we've had with them over the last few years, you guys have been so generous, folks. Thank you. It's saved, we estimate, at least tens of thousands of babies. Over the course of its ministry, PREBORN has saved hundreds of thousands as well. So let's keep it going. How? It's confronting moms considering the murder of their children with the reality that it is murder. That's not a unviable tissue blob. That's a baby. And that heartbeat, we hope, convicts them. And then when it does, and their conscience is convicted, they now need mercy and grace. And we offer that to them, prenatal, postnatal care, a lot of these things good for up to 2 years after the baby is born, to be as supportive as possible to both the mom and her baby. So if you want to make the donation today, go to preborn.com/Steve. Again, preborn.com/Steve. Make a tax-deductible donation today at preborn.com/Steve.
Jim Stocker is next. He says, these are the Mount Rushmore of joke genres that need to make a comeback in this humorless society.
I'm in already. Yes.
Yo mama jokes.
Bye.
Chuck Norris jokes.
Bye.
Yes.
Dumb blonde jokes.
Bye.
Midget jokes.
Bye. Ask yourself, were we a better society when we did stuff like this compared to where we are right now?
Just jokes.
Yep.
Almost all jokes.
Yep. Entirely. Yes. Go back to what I said earlier, gentlemen. If our opponents want to be known as the humorless scolds in the culture, by all means, I think we should grant them such a designation and let them have that.
Agreed.
It's all yours. You may have it. Yes. And you can take the Mike Pence forlorn look, furrowed brow. You can have it all. It all belongs to you. Thank you. Yes. Own it.
Ryan, the Christo-fascist, has this. The left has 3 moves to eliminate political opponents: the Kavanaugh, the Nixon, and the Kennedy.
Mm-hmm.
Tried all 3.
I don't know if I had to think about it deeply. I don't know if that's comprehensive enough, but I love the theme that you're going with, so I'm buying.
Yeah, I'll buy. Yep. That's good.
Chris Bates says the left has gone so hard for so long at Trump that they'll have very little ammo left to use against his cabinet. They should give him the freedom to execute their vision if they are strong enough.
This is why so much pressure is being put on weak-kneed Republicans, is because of exactly what you just said. They don't have... That's also why you're not seeing the stormtroopers called in. They don't have a justifiable cause that the normies would say, well, I can think they have a point. So this is why a bunch of weak-kneed Republicans, which is most of them, the pressure is being put on them. Well, don't you want to be seen as reasonable anymore?
Right.
Don't you want to be seen as above the fray and morally superior and sanctimonious anymore? Because that's the only play they have because of what you just said.
Yeah, I'm selling any notion that they just run out of time. They've been doing this too long. As before, the same is true now. It has more to do with us than with them. We never should have lost to these losers. Then, now, in the future. But we keep getting distracted. We keep getting too comfortable. We keep having distractions. We have thoughts about decorum. We've always been wrong about that. We can be wrong again in the future, and we'll lose to these losers in the future. It's about us.
Amen there. Amen there, for sure. All right, we're going to stick around. We've got more buy, sell, or holds to get to. We're going to do it in the overtime for Blaze TV subscribers here at blazetv.com/Deace. Go there now, get a Blaze TV subscription for a big discount for the rest of you. We'll see you tomorrow, noon to 2 Eastern, right after Glenn Beck. Until then, Romans 8:28.